Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. And this is a very, very cautionary tale about chaos and disruption that is taking place throughout many of our homes, the four walls of our homes. We know there's tons of chaos and disruption throughout our cities and our states, but we have to pay attention and keep our head on a swivel. And if you're seeing your neighbors, family members that are suffering from mental illness, the opioid crisis, stress, anxiety, the management of conflict mediation and resolution, if those things are falling apart, man, we have to reach out. And if we're going to really have a communal spirit about things and help police ourselves, then we need to do the necessary things to do that. Let's not just go in and out of our homes with our heads down, because there are many things that are taking place that are tearing down the moral and ethical fabric of our society. The level of inhumanity is at an all-time high, and whether it's a family member, a friend, or a stranger, harm could be right at your door. And this story, here again, is about a family, a brother, a son, an uncle, who ended up taking out his entire family as a result of his mother dying. And here we go, conflict resolution, mediation, the way we resolve problems, the level of gun violence is at an all-time high. And it's not always stranger danger that can harm you. It can be somebody very, very, very close to you. And this is what took place in this family dynamic. And there's a possible twist in this. This is a 59-year-old man who was single his entire life, lived with his mother his entire life. Mental health has been an issue for him a long time. And there might have been an Oedipus complex there with this mother and son dynamic that probably filtered on the borders of being a little strange. And after his mother died, it did not end well. So let's go into this one. This is a very sad and traumatic story. A Genesis auto mechanic executes his family in gruesome Long Island murder-suicide, and it was over a family will dispute. A man allegedly killed 4 family members and himself in an apparent murder-suicide in Long Island recently. Police responded to the home in Somerset at around noon for a report of shots fired, according to the Nassau County Police Department press release. 4 people were dead inside the residence on Wyoming Court, and 1 person was found dead outside, officials said. This is how it went. The deadly incident began when Joseph DeLucia Jr., 59, was meeting with family members to discuss the sale of his deceased mother's home, officials said at a press conference recently. Joseph DeLucia Jr. lived with his mother, 95-year-old Teresa Martha DeLucia, who died August 19th. The son was reportedly concerned that he would not have a place to live. Officials said 69-year-old Joanne Kearns, 64-year-old Frank DeLucia, 64-year-old Tina Hammond, and 30-year-old Victoria Hammond were fatally shot in the rear den of the home. The victims were Joseph DeLucia's siblings and niece. These are his family, bloodline family members. The perception of Joseph Jr. was he was being cut out of the will and was going to be displaced without a place to go, Nassau County Police Department Detective Stephen Fitzgerald said at a press conference. This man had past mental issues, psych issues that were reported to us. Because of that perception, he decided that day to get a loaded Mossberg shotgun, 12 gauge, approached his family members in the rear of the house and from the kitchen and fired 12 shots, striking all 4 of them multiple times. Police said he then shot himself on the front lawn of the home. All 5 victims were pronounced dead by the Nassau County police medic. He then took the weapon. This is what they say he did. He took the weapon, went out on the front lawn, was shouting indiscriminately about what happened. A neighbor heard him doing this, called 911, and that was our 911 caller. He then fired a self-inflicted shot to the chest, Fitzgerald said. So he worked as an auto mechanic at a local dealership, a Genesis dealership. And Genesis is a very nice car that's out now, new kind of car that I'm just hearing about. But I've seen him on the streets. They said he was a kind of a hoarder, spent all of his money on tools and stuff. The house is pretty much packed with tools and stuff involved in auto mechanics. He lived there his entire life. He never lived on his own. So you can see the mindset where his world was now changing. 59 years old, and he was panicking. Police Commissioner Patrick Ryder said it was probably one of the most horrific scenes he had ever seen. There was talk in that community about the distress of this shooter, who decided he did not want to leave his residence after his mom died. There was talk in that community that if you heard shots fired, don't call the police, it will be too late. These are things that are disturbing to us in law enforcement, Ryder said. Neighbors told WABC that a mother and son lived inside the home for decades. The mother who owned the house recently passed away. Family was in, and from what I understand is that there was possibly a dispute. Neighbor Corey Maglafisky said. The family had planned to meet with a real estate agent about selling the house, but when the agent arrived, it was already a crime scene. One neighbor told the outlet that the son was struggling with the idea of losing the house, where he had lived his entire life. You keep hearing that. He lived there his entire life with his mom, 59 years old. Something's a little off there. And there was a hoarding situation going on inside the house. Signs of mental illness. A couple in the neighborhood told Fox 5 New York that they were shocked to hear that the man killed his family. I didn't think that was. He'd take his whole family, his siblings. I thought maybe he was distraught and he did this to him, and that he would do it to himself only. I really didn't think that he would kill his entire family. People say that all the time until it happens. That's why we have to pay attention not only to ourselves, but to our neighbors and our community. Other neighbors reported hearing screams coming from the home. Some claim the man had concerning episodes in the past, so warning signs. Neighbor Wendy Pasner told NBC New York that the adult son who lived at the home struggled with his mental health. I think the mother looked after him, she said. He really needed her support and her emotional support. The Nassau County Homicide Squad is investigating the scene. So Somerset is a census-designated place in the town of Oyster Bay in Nassau County. The area has a population of over 19,000. It is around 32 miles east of Midtown Manhattan. So it's a small town. I never heard of it. I might be mispronouncing it as Syosset, right there in Nassau County. What do we get out of this particular story? Here again, utilize the 5 senses that God has given you, whether it's a family member or a friend. If you see somebody struggling and there are high levels of stress, anxiety, mental health issues. We have to pay attention not only for that individual, but for yourself. And we have reached a parameter in life today with the level of inhumanity when one human being is staring at the face of another, whether it's a family member, a mother, father, brother, sister, friend, or foe, and the amount of gun violence that has uh, been precipitated in today's time. You never know when somebody wants to try to play God and take your life. We have to be very, very careful in today's time, especially when you're talking about family members where you have a long history. There could be simmering and brewing issues that have gone unresolved, and there could be an internal hatred that a brother, a sister, a family member could have for you that you're not fully aware of. So it's very important to pay attention to your senses, to your gut. If it doesn't sound right and if it doesn't look right, you need to get out of there. I think this is a scenario where his siblings and his family members, they probably did not believe for 1 second that this Mr. DeLucia at 59 years old would commit the most heinous crime possible and take them out and himself. But it's not believable until it's believable. And why wait until something tragic has to happen for you to believe it? There's chaos and disruption in many of our homes in America. There's a high level of stress. There's a high level of untreated and undiagnosed mental illness that is taking place. There is a high level of helplessness and hopelessness in many of our people, and we should not take that for granted. This gentleman took out his entire immediate family and even his niece, who probably had nothing to do with this. And I think there's a little bit bizarre for a 59-year-old man to live his entire life with his mother. I think there's a partial Oedipus complex that could be playing in that situation. If you remember, many of your serial killers have had this kind of hubris with their mother, this overextended love and dynamic. You had Ed Gein, who the Silence of the Lambs, the Buffalo Bill character, was based upon. He lived with his mother for a very long time until she died, and he could not get himself together and had allegedly killed a few women as a result of it. But there's been other stereotypes of serial killers that have had this same dynamic with their parent or their mother. I'm not saying Mr. DeLucia was a serial killer, but I do think that his siblings and his family took it for granted that a lot of his growing up and how he managed his life and being very, very attached to his mother, that they had to have some indication that he was going to have some struggles if he's been with her for 59 years, never been married, children, never spent his energy outside the home beside working, that there could have been some real disruption, let alone that he didn't know where if he was going to have a place to stay. I'm sure his mother took care of things his entire life, and that completely disrupted his existence from that day moving forward. And to think that his family members were undermining him and taking the house and castigating him and leaving him out on the street, he probably thought that there was no way out, and the only way to handle this was to commit the most terrible crime you could commit. That's not the answer, but mental health is real. Untreated and undiagnosed mental health is real. We need to pay attention not only to what's going on outside and in our cities and communities, but we need to pay attention to the people that we grew up with, that we love, and that live in the four walls of our homes. I've done many videos where you're seeing an uptick in kids that are killing their parents, sons that are killing their mothers. This entire dynamic of this level of inhumanity and the way that we are dealing with conflict is by the most heinous thing possible, killing that other person. Our inhumanity has gone through the roof. Where is the love and where are the hugs? Tell me what you think about this terrible case that could happen to anybody. Don't take any human being for granted. especially ones that are close to you and have a long history with you. Many people are harboring ill feelings and emotions about people, and they're not even aware of it. You could have a demon and a heinous person sitting right next to you. You're seeing husbands and wives, spouses going through divorces that are killing the other person. It's happening all day, every day. So we need to talk about these things. We need to get back to a level of positivity, righteousness, and God fearing existence in this world. This is a sad case. Tell me what you think. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth.